Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this third webinar where we're going to look at some points which we need to consider prior to looking at the chart. And then we will look at the first instruction to the Disciple C.D.P. The questions will come at the end of the presentation. So we will start with a short alignment of the group field. Focus the attention in the head. And imagine the light of the soul pouring through the mental body, integrating the personality. Sound the 3 ohms and imagine the white golden light illuminating the mental body. Purifying the astral body. And strengthening the etheric body. Now visualize the threefold personality as being unified with the white light. Forming the one integrated whole. Personality soul fusion. See the lower triangle representing the personality with the mental body at the apex of the triangle and the physical and astral bodies at the base. Imagine the apex of the triangle pointing upwards. Above the lower triangle, see the brightly lit higher triangle, representing the soul, with its apex pointing downwards. By an act of the will, see these two triangles merging together and forming a 6-pointed star. See the six-pointed star as a shining sun, representing the soul-infused personality. And sound a silent Om to confirm this fusion. Group alignment. Visualize a sphere of pure white light and the group members as miniature shining suns inside and around the sphere. See a sphere of light linking the heart centers of all the group members. A sphere of light linking the head centers. And a sphere of light linking the ajna centers of all the group members. Imagine the light rapidly circulating through these three spheres and aligning the three group centers: ajna, heart, and head into one mind, one soul, and one will. To confirm the group alignment, we sound the Om as a group. Thank you, everybody. Now I just put our logo, and we're going to first talk about some of the points which we need to look at and prepare prior to looking at astrological chart. And because we need to know prior who we are dealing with. We need to know the person to some degree, of course. We need to know the psychology of the person. So we will endeavor to, at least hypothetically, to find a soul and personality ray prior to reading the chart. Because we need to interpret the chart around the rays. Using the soul ray, with the ascendant, and the personality ray with the sun sign, particularly. And if you are asking, how we can achieve this, we need to ask the right questions of the person in order to give us the right answers for what we need to discover and know the person. Now, in this case, the rays are given by the Master DK for all his disciples. And this is 100% correct rays, right? So that's why this tool, which we have been given by the instructions to his disciples, it's invaluable, because we can look at the chart knowing that we have already the rays, and how do we see them in that chart? How do they operate in a way of qualities? So we are dealing first with the psychology of the soul, which are the rays. The second thing is to establish, again, as best possible in our capacity, where the person is in the evolution of consciousness, the stage of the path, and the initiatory process, and where in this process he is, and what is his next step ahead, because that is where we are trying to help him or guide him along his way, along his path, as best we can. This would indicate to us what kind of rulership we will use. It means astrologically either the exoteric or esoteric rulers, or both, and to what degree. The hierarchical or monadic rulers start to operate only, I would say, from the middle point between the second and third initiation, where they are increasing in their power. As we enter technically the path of initiation and moving gradually from the fixed to the cardinal cross. So there wouldn't be so many people coming to us for consultation at that stage of development. But there were a few disciples in preparation for the third initiation, and one or two have taken it in that life. So we have an opportunity to see to what extent these monadic or hierarchical rulers can operate. The higher initiates from the third initiation upwards utilize all three levels of rulership: personality, soul, and monad. And in the chart of the master, all three crosses are involved. It means the mutable, fixed, and cardinal. Now, the majority of the disciples were between the first and second initiations, and one of them failed to take even the first initiation for which his soul really wanted him to do in that incarnation. But in spite of that, he was accepted by the master because he recognized, one of the first one who recognized the hierarchy, and he was also helping the DK financially. Maybe there were some other reasons for that, where master made an exception to a rule. So we see there are always exceptions to a rule, but these exceptions always come from above and not from below. So when we will be going through the instruction, we will be trying to establish at which of the sub-stages they were. For example, at the early stages of the path of discipleship, we find accepting disciple and pledged disciple prior to the entry upon the path of accepted discipleship. And then if that was path, you know, some of the disciples, it was their first incarnation on that path of accepted discipleship. Some of them, it was the second life. And so all this is very important because we need to align the level of the disciple to the ray energies and to the astrological energies, because they mean something else on one level, something different on other level. And we need to understand what is happening on that level. So when he's, for example, speaking about pledged disciple, many times he's not specifying if he means pledged disciple prior to the acceptance on the path of accepted discipleship, or does he mean a pledged accepted disciple? When he is speaking particularly that pledged disciple, you know, is training the aspirant for accepted discipleship. Question, for example, how far was the next initiation? Was it a second? Was it a third? Was that initiation taken in that life? Or the disciple had to wait for another life or few lives? And what was the reason for that? Was the disciple technically mentally polarized or just mentally focused? Did he pass the middle point between the second and third initiation? Or was he facing the temptation tests? And if so, for which one of these three temptations he was preparing or dealing with? These are all very important questions which, you know, when we go through the instructions, they will all come up. Another thing, you know, it's a soul contact. Did the disciple achieve soul contact? When? How stable is it? Where in the process of integration of the personality the disciple is? In a process of alignment? Or is there a fusion going on between the soul and personality? Where is he in the process of building of the Antakara, and which part of it? And we would need to look, how do we see and investigate the astrological chart to answer and come conclusion and judgment to these questions? How can we identify these processes astrologically and psychologically? For those upon the path of probation, and for the average disciple prior to the entry upon the path of accepted discipleship, which start at the middle point between the first and second initiation, the exoteric or personality rulership predominates in their influence. The esoteric rulership is gradually start to build up only on the path of accepted discipleship, where both the exoteric and esoteric rulership start to operate. We must not confuse the probationary disciple upon the end of path of probation with probationary discipleship, which lasts up to the entry on the path of accepted discipleship. So it becomes evident that in order to know and understand the psyche of a person and what is his or her soul purpose, dharma, karma, destiny, we really need to have a fundamental grounding in the ageless wisdom as a whole. And beside the academic and occult technicalities of the science of astrology, the rays, chakras, the stages of the path and the initiatory process, we need to have at least certain degree of intuition operating. Otherwise, there is a very high percentage of inaccuracy and of wrong judgment. We can only truly know when we are in the cold, clear light of buddhi or intuition, where we find the pure reason or direct knowledge. Without analysis or reasoning, we know. It is the infallible intuitive perception. And we start to consciously approach there at the third initiation. When we reach and consciously operate from the cause of consciousness. So until then we must work on the development of that quality of intuition. A development of humility, which is really this right sense of proportion. And the most important energy, which is harmlessness, which has its lower and higher interpretation of the perfect poise, completed point of view, and divine understanding. We are told that the wiser or more intuitive we become, and the more we see the soul which the form veils, and relate us soul to soul, the closer we come to the truth and to the essential essence, which is the spirit or monad, and to the reality of being. in the Tibetan's master's personal instructions to his disciple, we were given an invaluable source of knowledge, guidance, and clear postmarks on the road to that essence. Because DK is a very knowledgeable master and a great psychologist and astrologer. And so he's using a language which is full of occult, psychological and astrological clues, hints, and sometimes even veiling. And we need to discover these and rightly interpret them. I'm sure, he knew that one day would come people like us looking at these instructions, and he is helping us, but he is not giving us so easily on a plate. We need to work for it. But I think the most important and at the same time the most difficult to achieve is the art of synthesis, where we need to put together all the details into one whole picture, because we are part of that whole. Actually, the mantra of Cancer on the Buddhic plane is the whole, that is, the whole is seen as one. Also, the meticulous entirety represented by the third aspect of the second ray is the quality reflecting that synthetic process, synthetic whole. I would say that each planet and each sign can be interpreted in a number of different levels. It means the same planet can be interpreted from a different perspective according to what we are looking at. It doesn't mean that, we look at one planet and we cannot look at it again because, we think that it represented one thing. No. Another thing is that we need to align the level of consciousness of the person to the stage of his development which he achieved in this life with the level of a particular planet, sign, ray, chakra, in order that the person is aligning with our interpretation and understanding what we are trying, how we're trying to guide and help him. Because if we miss this alignment, all our judgment and interpretation would be wrong. That's why the most important point is to establish where that person is. Actually, we are told by the Master DK that we need to spend 5 hours in preparation for consultation. And you can find that reference in Esoteric Healing, page 702, where he is including there also the healer who has to prepare 5 hours for his client who comes for healing to him. So any kind of consultation, especially of the esoteric type, needs, some time for us to prepare ourselves. Another thing I would say that it is very important that we learn how to read DK. because he changes levels from which he speaks without giving us clear notice. And this can be from sentence to sentence or paragraph from paragraph. And if we miss the clue, we will find ourselves in a really confusion, cul-de-sac of contradictions. Or we arrive at the wrong levels and so consequently to the wrong conclusions. Because he never uses a word at random or accidentally. There is always a purpose behind it which is leading us to a particular level of energy. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put up some of the references for the Disciple C.D.P. As you can see on your screen, there is a development formula for that incarnation, which is reflected the initial C.D.P. C stands for courage, which was the most important keyword. That's why it is italicized here. Then dispassion, which is really the detachment from the emotional nature, and pure love. We will look at these keywords as we go through the instructions where he is making reference to them. Ray energies were second ray soul, sixth ray personality, fifth ray mind, sixth ray astral body, and very unusual ray for the sixth ray physical body, which is also influencing the brain. So she has a very unusual and not an easy combination of rays. Okay? She's on 246 line, and only one ray, the ray of the mind, is in the middle, sort of balancing all these energies, which is very needed here for her. That is the only ray on 1357 line. Okay. Now she was the member of telepathy group, together with the other disciples, BSD, FCD, DRS, JWKP, RVB, AP, RSU, and BSW. All these groups of 9, which we were talking about at the first webinar, has been discussed and explained how it all came about. Her real name was Alice DuPont Ortiz. Her date of birth is 10 of April, 1876. Now I should say that I have been given a new information about her place of birth, which has been given to me by one of the faculty on Morea Federation, and this is Louisville, Kentucky. To this time, we don't have her time of birth, but we do have now new information, the date of birth, of death, which is 5th November 1940. I knew the year of her death, but I didn't know her exact date. So these few other information which are very good for rectification of the chart, which I will be doing in the process as we go through this instruction, and I have already started to do that. And so the place of death was Wellington, Newcastle, CO, Delaware. Actually, this was my original selection for her place of birth, because we had one member of the family living there. But you see, it is different. Okay. She married Julian Otis from France, and they lived together in Greenville, Delaware. This is something further here about her, that she was a poet and also genealogist, which she was tracing family descent, her own family from both sides, her husband's and her parents. And she'd written some books, but very late in her life, when she was already 60, not far from her death. And you know, her family was very, very rich publishing family. So, you know, it was very easy for her, you know, to publish her books. She also wrote some articles on telepathy. Interesting, because she belonged to the telepathy group. And these were published in the Beacon magazine, published by Lucy's Trust, the Arcane School. And it is still, you know, the magazine is still being published to this day. She loved flowers. So it is not surprised that she built a garden on the mental plane as a place of seclusion, a contemplation for the whole group, you know, to use it. And any of us can use the garden. And a pink rose 6-ray color was her favorite. And actually, the popular Mandeville vine, originally from Brazil, bears her name. Mandevilla Alice de Pont vine plant, Brazilian jasmine. Isn't that interesting? So there we find some kind of understanding more about her, that, you know, she loved the flowers and the garden, how it all came about, that she built this garden. As I am rectifying the chart, I am leaving the sign Cancer still on the ascendant, because I think it fits very well what DK is talking about, her close relation to the family, and also that she had no career. Actually, we could call her a housewife, but she was also a lady, you know, of society. So I am adjusting the degree of the ascendant, and I will see how it will go, but I am very confident that, you know, the degree which I am arriving at is very close. So what I will do now, I will put up her chart. I will put up her chart, which is here. And you see she has a Cancer rising. at 2 degree 28 or 29. It is not showing here. And I have rectified the MC to enter the Cancer decanate of Pisces. Okay? Which I had it just prior to it, before. Because it aligned with the ascendant and with the, as I say, that family was really her occupation, we could say. I am not going to, I'm going to follow first, just to say where she was, what stage she was of the path. She was moving through the early stages of the path of discipleship, where we find what DK actually calls, would you believe it, the average disciple. And these are the stages of the probationary discipleship, where we find the accepting and pledged disciple. And he is telling her she had undaunted persistence, which is the hallmark of the pledged disciple. So that is the stage she was, which is the prior to the entry upon the path of accepted discipleship. And persistence is the quality of the sixth ray Sagittarius. And in her chart, when we would investigate it, we have a powerful Sagittarian influence, as you see here, if you follow the chart, particularly those of you who know astrology. Jupiter, her second ray soul planet, is in Sagittarius. Okay. Her Sun and Chiron in Aries are in Sagittarian decanate of Aries. Uranus, it's in Sagittarian decanate of Leo. So you see, we cannot only look, what is in Sagittarius. We need to look, on other things here, and also Saturn, it's in the 9th house, which is the Sagittarian house, and the Jupiter in a powerful exoteric placement, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius on a personality level, but it is the soul or esoteric ruler of the 9th house, Aquarius. Okay? So all this is very significant. So this quality, of persistence is very much needed prior to direct acceptance and becoming the, what we call technically then, accepted disciple. The persistence and endurance is also coming with Taurus, which she has a powerful Taurus also. Her most important planet, Neptune, which is the soul or esoteric ruler of Cancer, indicating her soul purpose, is in Taurus. Pluto, the esoteric ruler of her Dharma and ruler of Scorpio, where we find her moon, is also in Taurus, and so is the Mars, which is the ruler of all her Aries planet, Mercury, Sun, and Chiron, and is also the ruler of Scorpio. So, Taurus don't give up easily. It is a very plodding sign. It is holding very firmly to a person or idea, and it's staying with it with persisting endurance, which is, coming from Vulcan, the will and first ray. Vulcan rules Taurus on two levels. On the soul or esoteric level and also the hierarchical level. But unfortunately, you know, we don't have so far available exact ephemeris to place where the Vulcan is. So hypothetically, we are told is 8 degrees of each side of the sun. So if we take that 8 degrees from the 21 degree sun, it would be still in Aries, but where exactly, we don't know. The other contributory energies with this endurance and persistence, we can take Scorpio energy, and obviously Sagittarius with its powerful 6th ray. The will applied with persistence over a long time in relation to Vulcan, it starts, you know, from the inertia of matter to the heart of the sun. It's a long process, right? And in the life of the pledged disciple, what he needs to deal with while at that stage is the distraction of desire, which represents a test of the second initiation. So again, Taurus, most powerful sign of desire. And Moon in Scorpio, a death of desire for her, veiling Neptune for her. And both of the rulers of Scorpio are in Taurus, Mars, Pluto, in a white conjunction there. So also the Vulcan and Aryan energy of the first ray and will, you know, are very powerful here with the quality of endurance. The other thing, the life of a pledged disciple, there must be present a cutting off personality ties, which for her is a perfect alignment with this, because that's exactly what she had to learn to achieve emotional detachment and to see those she loved, her children, her family, as souls, not the personalities. Okay? And another thing for the pledged disciple, there has to be the transmutation process of desire into aspiration and eventually into will. We again, a Taurian energy, and finally relinquishing that desire in Scorpio. That was part of her test also. And also the rulers of this polarity, we see Taurus ruled by Venus, which is in Gemini, and Mars, Scorpio, are in conjunction. And this conjunction is very significant, which we will be looking at from different angles and number of perspectives through the instructions. The T-square, it's the most significant, challenging square, T-square in her chart. Saturn square this Mars-Venus conjunction. It squared the Jupiter, her soul, secondary soul ruler, and Jupiter opposition to that Venus-Mars conjunction. Very challenging, which were affecting many things, including her health, because 6 and 12 houses are emphasized in here. Now, those of you who know and study the stages of discipleship, we have 6 stages of discipleship. And she was on the second stage, which is called Chela in the Light. She passed the first initiation, and she was right at the middle point between the first and second, entering the path of accepted discipleship. And at the stage of the Chela in the Light, we find that the disciple there is occupied with overcoming of glamour, and she had enormous glamours, control of emotional reactions, and working with the light and vision. Now, there are 2 signs of vision. Taurus, which she had, powerful here, and Sagittarius, which we already looked at from a number of perspectives in that chart. The problem of glamour, which is, very much conditioned 6 ray, and she had it in a great power, is found when the mental illusion is intensified by desire, right? Which is Taurus and the ruler Venus. It is an illusion on the astral plane called the Kama Manas, and the Kama Manas produces glamour. And Kama Manas at the lowest aspect is the lowest aspect of the energy of Venus. And it's found at the 5th subplane of the astral plane, Kama Manas. And Kama Manas is a desire mind influenced by desire. It is again a process, and it disappears when there is no desire for form or personality. And the illusion is always associated with mental energy. That's why it is included in the Kama Manas or desire mind. And that's why it is found on the 5th subplane, which is related to the 5th ray, which is a mental energy. And astral desire plane is a 6th ray. So 5th and 6th ray are coming together. And astrologically we see Kama Manas in conjunction with the 5th ray planet Venus and 6th ray planet Mars, conditioning the astral body, astral plane, solar plexus. This is one aspect of energies which we are seeing in this conjunction. And they are squaring Saturn, which is the form, it's the dweller, it's the personality, right? This is one of the processes she was working on through this T-square. The highest spiritual correspondence to Kama Manas is found in the soul love, which is the Kama, and soul mind, which is the Manas. Kama Manas, soul love, and soul mind. And so that Venus, you see, it is not by accident that it is in a very powerful esoteric placement, because Venus is the soul or esoteric ruler of Gemini, where it is placed. And so this is her way out from the kama manas to the soul and stabilization in the soul on the higher mental plane. And Gemini, it's intercepted here on the 12th house, which is a subjective area or inner levels from one perspective as we're looking at it now, which indicates that CDP has to see the soul behind every relationship. See, polarity, soul, same form. It's a duality sign, Gemini. And to relate to people as souls, not as personalities, particularly those she loved, with eventual goal to transmute, working on transmuting the solar plexus to the heart and working on uniting the head and heart. Now the highest aspect of kama manas we find in the triad, and that is Buddhi Atma. Buddhi is the highest aspect of kama, and Atma the highest aspect of the manas, the kama manasic energies rising to the triad. Okay? That's why this is also an indication that, you know, she's been told that she was on the astral Buddhic line connection. So we see she is going from the astral energy of the kama manas and eventually, you know, leading to Buddhi, but going through the soul first. Now, this connection of the astral Buddhic line, it's represented also astrologically through the triangle of the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, which are very significant because Pisces is ruling her Dharma, Cancer is her soul purpose, ascendant, and Scorpio, where her moon is, most important test in that incarnation, the test of fear, which we will deal in more details. So there is, you know, the relationship here between particularly the 2-4-6, the 2-6 ray energies, which she had, second ray soul, and the 6th ray conditioning the astral, the personality, astral and physical brain levels. And Neptune, which transmits the 6th ray, is one of the planets ruling the astral and Buddhic planes. And it is also the esoteric and hierarchical ruler of the Cancer ascendant. Okay, Neptune in Taurus. So it's astrologically is one of her most important planets, which indicates her sole purpose for that incarnation. And you know, she suffered from etheric devitalization, and the etheric body, when we look at it, what kind of energy transmit in relation to the energies we are talking about, it is transmitting the kama manasic or desire mind energies in relation to the blood, which is ruled by Mars and Neptune, and the glands ruled by Saturn. Saturn, sextile Neptune, and square Mars. planets which transmit the 6th ray and are related to blood. We are looking now how these energies can affect also our health. In her case, the devitalized condition, where there was a loose connection between the etheric and physical bodies. The second aspect of energy transmitted through the etheric body is the atmic Buddhic energy, or the spiritual will and spiritual love. And Saturn, as the ruler of Libra, condition the atmic plane, and Neptune, in relation to the spiritual love or buddhi, through the relation to the nervous system of Venus. There is a relationship between the ray 2, between the Neptune and Venus. And then the nadis system, which underlie the nervous system, which is ruled by Venus, is ruled by Mercury. Mercury she has in Aries. Very powerful esoteric placement, because may rule Aries as a soul ruler. And etheric body is ruled by Gemini, where we find that Venus. Okay? In relation now to the nervous system and the etheric body. A perfect placement for the condition from which she suffered. And you know, the health is the effect of inner levels, and we need to reach the cause of that physical problem. Because we need to eliminate the cause for the disease to be healed, to disappear. So through all these energies, we see the connection to the Buddhic plane eventually, and giving us a clue to the devitalized etheric body, which we will look at more closely as we go through the instructions, because the Master DK is coming back to this problem of hers. So she was guided towards, as I said before, towards the accepted discipleship, and which started a middle point between the first and second initiation, because only from this point a disciple starts to face the real tests and preparation for the second initiation, towards which she, from this incarnation, should really consciously start working towards. And the battlefield for the disciple nearing the accepted discipleship is primarily that of glamour. And in this incarnation, she took the final test, or she should have taken the final test of fitness to step upon the path of accepted discipleship. And so the planets like Saturn, Venus, Mercury, ray 3 and 5 are very significant. In her case, you know, particularly that 5th ray and the square between that Venus-Saturn. Now, Moon, in her case, you know, we always need to estimate which which planet out of the three, Moon and also the Sun, are always veiling planets. In her case, my estimation is that it is veiling Neptune. Moon is the exoteric ruler of her Cancer ascendant and the esoteric ruler of the fourth house, which is a Cancer house, and also it is related to the ashram. Okay, that's why it's only when one is technically accepted disciple, start to make entry into the ashram from its periphery to the center. That's why this test for her with that Moon in Scorpio is significant from a number of perspectives. And the test is related to fear, which is the fourth test of Scorpio, or the first test of the astral body. Okay? Her major test was obviously that of detachment. And this she had to learn through her family life, okay, which is represented with that Cancer and that Moon. And the Moon, to find the release from it, the Moon is squaring Uranus. She needs to be free, which is a keyword, one of the keywords for Uranus, you know, to find the release from the strong emotional hold to her family and the fear she had for them. So a family life was one level of circumstances. Then there were financial circumstances. Finance, Taurus, right? She financially supported her family. And health was the third one, which I have already mentioned, you know, with the sixth house and the etheric devitalization in relation to the blood and the nervous system, particularly. When we're talking about money, money is conditioned by ray, usually by ray 3 and 7, and these are transmitted through the sign of Cancer. Okay? So how to sustain, maintain, you know, it's the foundation, how to nourish materially, also, which includes the money on the physical plane. That is all Cancer energy. So even she didn't have ray 3 and 7 on one of her rays, we can see the rays coming, you know, through other sign. The sign of Aries also transmit ray 7, for example. Okay? And then we have planets which are, you know, related to that ray. One of them is obviously Uranus, but we will look at these things in more details as we go on. Taurian energy, you see, it's very critical energy for her, because it's the energy of accumulation, not only of money, but also of knowledge. You know, she had a great knowledge. It was a question how to bring it out and use it from the inner level to the outer. And this, because Taurus also is the sign of appetites and senses. And so This pointing to the overindulgence. Jupiter, excess overindulgence in the health, sixth house of health, in this involvement with the T-square, okay? Particularly that opposition between Jupiter to Mars in Taurus. You know, it's a great emphasis here on that over excess, which has its effect, obviously, on health also. But all what she had, and she had a lot coming from a very rich family, she was very generous, selfless, you know. She had some very good qualities. And she has shared with others. And she helped Alice Bailey financially, and she supported financially also the Tibetans' work. So you see, these financial circumstances, family life and health were not accidental. They were put into her path of life. They were chosen. You know, a disciple achieves a free choice together. I mean, it's a soul who chooses a particular energies, circumstances in order to learn a particular qualities. They are the staging around which she was struggling for liberation from the hold of the powerful six-ray forces and emotional and desire nature. Because actually we are told that upon the path of discipleship, the forces of the disciples' lower nature must be studied in relation to those with whom the destiny, karma, and vocational choice has thrown the disciple. DK actually told her that his words, it is your love, your clinging, possessive love to those you have gathered close around you in the karmic process of life that hinders your loving them in the strong, true way, which reflects this processes on the path of discipleship. And destiny is, you know, is also the result, you know, of our choice. It can be bad. And these circumstances of the family, finance, and health were the opportunities offered to her by her soul, and if rightly used, would put her feet upon the path of initiation, she was told by DK. Where the disciples' lower personality forces are used now in conscious cooperation with the plan. And with adequate skill in action as a result of lesson which the disciple has learned on the earlier stages of the path. Okay? Now, even though the path of discipleship or of initiation is technically related to the third initiation, this is one of those examples where we see that we actually start to consciously put our feet upon the path of initiation at the second initiation, because that is the clue he is giving us with that statement, telling her that if she passed that test, she can put her steps upon the path of initiation. And the second initiation marks the stage of the probationary or Kama Manasic initiate. Now, isn't that interesting that we're coming back to the Kama Manas in relation to the process this disciple was working? So the initiate of the second degree had to go through a probation also and emerge as a true initiate at the third degree. Obviously, this initiatory probation is shorter in comparison with the probationary disciple, which is the longest one, lasting between the first and second initiation. Because once we take the second initiation, which is the most difficult one to take, the initiatory process is speeded up enormously. And for those who really work consciously on the process, have the opportunity to take 2 initiation after the second, even 2 and 3 in one life. It's not an everyday occurrence. It's rare, but it can be done. So if she could achieve detachment and arrive at a stable, focused mind upon the higher mental plane, her whole life would simplify. And again, DK is hinting for us that when he's saying to her that initiation is simplification, simplicity in relation to initiatory process and relation to the energies where we find also the simplicity, particularly to the Atma Buddhi levels, he is pointing, you see, to the relationship between the Kama Manasic initiate and the second initiation, who is emerging from the chaos of the astral mental mind, or Kama Manas, and the fourth degree initiate, who is leaving behind the form, even the causal body, and achieving a conscious expression of Buddhi, again linking the 2 and 4 initiation and her line from astral to Buddhic connection. And thus hinting that the second initiation was in front of her really. Okay? She had, once she had passed the test which she had to pass in that incarnation, she could move quite fast towards that second initiation, where we actually start to use the will and the Buddhi more consciously and start to build the Antakarana more consciously to the triad. Particularly, this is increasing when we reach the middle point between the second and third initiation. But the second initiation for her is the her next step, because it is conditioned by the 6th ray and the issues of glamour, desire, emotional attachment, and the achieving of release and freedom from them involves its major tests. Now, my plan is now to look at her first instruction. Now, the staff, which is technical staff behind me, how long are we in the process?
You've been at it 1 hour and 20 minutes.
So I will see how it goes. Looking at the CDP instruction, which is this one, given to her in November 1931, which is the year where most of the disciples received their first instructions, or basically where it really started. And it's in book DINA I, page 504. Okay? And so we can read what the Master is saying to her. To you, my brother, I have but little to say, not because you do not merit much, but because you know the work that must be done. And I have but to look on in silence to see eventual achievement. So what he is actually telling us here, you know, that he's actually starting on very positive note here, telling her that she knows exactly what she needs to do. And he expresses his confidence that, you know, the direction she's taking will eventually lead to success. So it's a great encouragement he is giving her with this first sentence here. But then comes the facts. Overcome fear, my brother. Kill out suspicion. And those vile children of fear, nervousness, foreboding, worry, and that instant jumping to conclusions which are dire and full of disaster. Now you see the contrast between these two paragraphs. This is the way, you know, a DK approach. He is complimenting, but at the same time directly saying to the disciple, what is the problem here? Okay? So, for those of you who a little bit don't understand these words he's using here, vile, it's really disgusting word, you know, meaning disgusting, fear. Nervousness, foreboding, you know, it's like expectation of trouble, very negative energy, looking, you know, in front, what is going to happen, but with a worse kind of energy. And instant jumping to conclusion is really irritation. Which are dire, it means dreadful and full of disaster. That we really understand what he's saying here, okay? Now, fear is a secondary vice and a fourth test of Scorpio. Okay? And why is it fourth test of Scorpio now? Here we come. 3 tests in Scorpio are the tests of appetites, which are 3 in number, sex, physical comfort, and money, which are usually related to the physical plane and the first initiation. The tests of desire, which are also three, is the fear, hate, and ambition, and are related to the astral plane and astral body, and the second initiation. And then comes the tests of the lower concrete mind, which are also three: pride, separativeness, and cruelty, which are related to the mental plane and the third initiation. So we have 9 tests altogether in Scorpio dealing with the first three initiations. Now, if we count the test 1, 2, 3, we come to the 4th test of Scorpio, which is fear. Okay? Now, when we look at the chart, I need to be coming now from different thing here. You see where is the moon? At nearly 11:58, nearly 12 degrees Scorpio. Okay? Now, it is dealing with this test of fear, and it's in exactly that degree of Scorpio relating to that 4th test or 1st test of the astral nature. How? Because each sign has 3 decanates. You see here. For example, Scorpio, it's the 1st decanate, it's Scorpio decanate. The 2nd decanate is the next sign, which is the water sign, which is Pisces. And then come Cancer. So these 3 decanates divide by 10 degrees. And if we divide each of these decanates by the 3.5 degree, which is called the Dward or Dwamamsha, I don't know even if I am calling it right, each of these 10 degrees is divided into 3, again related to the 3 tests, which are the 9 tests. So the first 3 tests would come to 10 degree, and then come the 4th test, which would go to 13.5 degree of Scorpio, and that's where the moon is, exactly relating to that 4th test of fear, which she had to deal with. And the significance of the moon is enormous here, because it is one of the rulers of her ascendant, her sole purpose. Okay? And it is in the Piscean decanate, it is also her Dharma. And her Dharma being now in the Cancer decanate of Pisces, we have a powerful relationship to the most important angles of her chart, because the moon also rules esoterically the 4th point here, 4th house, in relation to that ashram and the foundation energies, in relation to the Cancer particularly. So, now, when I was telling you that DK does not use words randomly, going back to that instruction, what he's actually saying to us, you see what word he's using here? Children. Now, do you think he's using this word randomly? No. Because her relationship to children, you know, even after she died, she was taking care of the children of the war who died during the war and working with them, actually DK says trying to set their consciousness. She was working in his ashram. And so the word children, you see, he is giving us a clue also astrologically, because if we look at the chart, where do we find the moon? In the 5th house, which is one of its energies, are children. You see? And this was, when I was rectifying the chart, this was one of the biggest clues. I knew that moon has to be in a 5th house. Going back to the instruction now. In order to simplify, I would say that we could say that the astral body is recognized through its desire, emotions, and fear is the most usual manifestation of astral energy. And actually, because the astral plane is the battlefield for the whole humanity, so to speak, the astral energy and the plane is for majority constitute the dweller. But you see, what is not so much an obvious and general knowledge is that worry and irritation are one of the most common causes of trouble and a category of complaints which arise in the astral body and are synthesized esoterically under the term diseases of irritation and are very common among disciples. Now, irritation, which is called by Master Moraya imperil, is a basic psychological complaint which has its roots in the intensification of the astral body. And this definitely produces abnormal effects, would you believe, on the nervous system, which we were looking at in relation to the Kama manas. Now, astrologically, irritation, this is why I need to keep flipping between the chart. Astrologically, is related to Aries, which he has a powerful Aries, right? Mercury, Sun, Chiron. And as we talk about Venus, ruling the nervous system. Okay? And there is, you know, all these energies in Aries are contributory factor to this irritation energy. And in Gemini, we have the tendency to the eventual control of the two aspects of the soul. Because Gemini is a dual sign, soul and form. And these two aspects is the life aspect, which is seated in the heart and using the bloodstream. You remember we talked about the bloodstream in relation already to the Kama manas and its mode of interplay. And that of consciousness aspect, which is seated in the head and using the nervous system as its mode of expression. So we have again coming back to the heart and head to the heart and head alignment towards which she would have to eventually, you know, come to and work together. And as we were saying, you know, that the bloodstream is ruled by Mars and Neptune, as it vitalizes and purifies and stimulates the whole organism, really, all aspects. And Mars, particularly as a ruler of Scorpio, put under test all the three lower vehicles, lower bodies. And the placement of Mars in Scorpio, in Taurus, sorry, as a ruler of Scorpio, where the test of that fear, where irritation is one aspect of it, focuses upon the desire and the astral body, which, you know, she had to bring under control through the development of detachment and transference from the solar plexus to the heart, which actually we see in this opposition. Solar plexus Mars opposing Jupiter, which is the heart. Okay? And when we look at the chart, we see this conjunction, which I already pointed out. We will be coming back to these energies very, very often, because they represent so many levels, you know, of and approaches which this disciple, you know, she had to use these keys on, you know, from the lowest to the higher, from the personality to the soul for her. It depends on the perspective which we are actually looking at it. So in this case, it's the solar plexus. It's the nervous system with the Venus, yes, astral body through Kama Manas, and Mars through the bloodstream, astral body and solar plexus. So you see what information we are getting just from this one conjunction here. But this conjunction, you see, it's in the 12th house, which is it's the area of extreme sensitivity, fear, compulsion, weakness. Again, each house can be looked at and interpreted on a number of different levels, but again we are looking at it from one particular perspective here. And there are many effects of worry and irritation, which are what he called the children of fear. And one of them, one of the effects is narrowness of vision and preventing of a true vision, shutting out the view. And, you know, with that vision, again, astrologically, we're coming back to the two signs of vision, which is Taurus and Sagittarius. Worry may make the astral body to vibrate actually to rhythm, which is impossible for the right reception of inner energies, of the inner purpose. So you see, we are tracing the energies from the lowest to the highest level, from the effects to the causes. And irritation generates a poison, Scorpio poison, which locates itself in the region of the stomach and of the solar plexus, area of the Mars. Also, a moon and Cancer is related to the stomach. So it is a disease of the solar plexus. And as long as we live in the heart and the head, we will end the disease of irritation or imperil. And we aid in the transference of the forces of the solar plexus to the heart. Okay? So we see again the link between the irritation, poison, astral body, solar plexus through the sign of Aries and Scorpio, ruled by the Mars. Going back to the Taurus again. Now the cause of nervousness, which is another child of fear, is emotional thinking or karma manas. Here we go again. And astral energy. And astrologically we're coming back to that Venus. So grounding upon the mental plane and standing in spiritual being, which is the highest aspect of that Venus in its esoteric placement in Gemini, representing the soul, that is the goal, where to go in order to deal with that nervousness here. Basically, fear. So we can see how we can link the disease and its inner causes, how this relates to the bodies, the chakras, the glands, the organs, and to the qualities we need to develop. And in the case of C.D.P., she needs to develop the detachment from the astral or emotional forces. Now, you know, there are many types of fear, such as fear of death, fear of dark, fear of the unknown, you know. And we know that, you know, many disciples on the path usually have a fear of failure, which has its roots in doubt, or fear of loneliness, which has its roots in separativeness. And astrologically, as I already said, the Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio are particularly related to the astral plane. And also the placement of the planets, you know, like the moon in Scorpio and Saturn in Pisces, which we will be really looking at very carefully at this placement, because it's very difficult placement for Saturn to have. Because it is very contradictory, almost opposite energy to the Piscean energy, which is very sensitive energy, very receptive, very imaginative. And Saturn, you know, here is the task maker. Here is telling, you know, it's blocking energy, it's challenging. So we will look at this Saturn, you know, from a number of perspectives there. And because C.D.P. was actually astrally focused, many times she spent a lot of, you know, she spent actually quite a bit of time on that astral plane. It was a very line of least resistance for her, as you can imagine, with such a powerful six-ray force and all this water sign emphasize. So fear was one of her major hindering forces towards the soul progress. And so the indication of fear in the chart generally, we need to always look at the placement of Moon and Saturn. What are they doing in the chart? Because, and Piscean energy, and what is in a 12th house? You know, these are the fearful position. And we need to find out what exactly for the stage of the disciple we are considering, how they are working. And Saturn in Pisces, for example, is related to that foreboding or expectation of trouble, one of the children of fear. Feeling of being trapped and not knowing why, by whom, by what, you know. So it's very difficult to deal with if we don't know what to deal with. Now, what I need to do, maybe that we looked at the chart of the 9 tests of Scorpio, which are related to the first 3 initiations. I would say that these tests must always be self-initiated by us, where we put ourselves into a positive or conditioning environment where these trials and disciplines are inevitable or unavoidable. Okay? And also, I would like to say that it doesn't mean, you know, I better put the references again to these tests I'm talking about, these nine tests. It doesn't mean that when we pass the first initiation and deal with these 3 tests, sex, physical comfort, and money, then we close the door and that's it, and we think we have dealt with them. No. That is a glamour and illusion. Because even the disciple in preparation for the 3rd initiation and dealing with the tests of pride, separativeness, and cruelty has to still get back to some of these issues and these issues. Even the disciple who took the 3rd degree was dealing with both, finalizing both these levels of these 1st and 2nd initiations. Okay? So, because many people, that's a thing, you know, that, oh, I passed the 1st initiation, I don't, you know, I can deal with sex, comfort, money. They will stick their head up again and again for us to still deal with those issues, because they are very difficult ones to deal with. And when we actually overcome these 9 faults, these 9s, when we pass these 9 tests, then the result is actually twofold, we are told. There is establishing of right relations with the soul, and also right relationship with our environment and what we find in that environment. So this is the process of the first 3 initiations. Okay? Now, I should put the instruction here. We were dealing with this paragraph, overcoming fear. And now comes this sentence. Achieve that inner poise which faces all that comes in the light of the eternal. Now, what is he actually telling us here by this sentence? We are told that perfect poise indicates complete control of the astral body. So emotional upheavals are greatly minimized in the life of a disciple. And how we arrive at this perfect poise is by the practice of divine indifference. And by ruling out of all the urges, impulses, and attraction of the emotional nature. When we are told this, we are actually told this more as we approaching the third degree than where she actually was. Because for C.D.P. it was particularly the achievement, of the inner poise, where the emotional nature is quietened through the power of the soul, okay? And achieving this inner poise which no one or nothing can remove her from it. Only through the power of the soul she could quieten the emotional nature and achieve that, what I would simply say, emotional poise. Okay? Where we are told, for example, where the astral body, can perfectly reflect what is coming through. There is no turbulence. And as we see, we are coming back, we need to deal with that desire. First, with the physical desire of that Taurian energy. Where the Mars is and Taurus. And you see Mars is what we call astrologically in detriment position. It means something should be lessening here and something should be increasing in power with this placement. And what should be lessening is the desire, and what should be increasing in power is the illumination of that soul coming on the mind. The clarity of that vision should be increasing. In Scorpio, where the desire should be ending, yes, there is the victory of the spiritual desire indicated, particularly through that test where the moon is, veiling Neptune. And moon is astrologically in its fall. It is, something is falling and something is in exaltation or coming, to the peak of its power. So in her case, this placement of the moon in Scorpio is a classic placement for what is not very correctly called the death of the personality at the third initiation. But for her, it emphasizes the termination, or we could call it the death, of the hold of the emotional desire nature, and ascendancy of the power of the soul for her. Because the astral nature is so powerful and agitated in her case, that poise and serenity is essential, which the stabilization in the soul nature could provide. Now,
Elena?
yes.
Excuse me, you're coming up on 2 hours. Just wanted to let you know.
Okay. Now, okay, people. This is, you know, I had a feeling that it might be rather too long, that I might not finish, but at least we have started. We have started on the first instruction, and it is giving you some idea of the process, how we're going to look at this instruction in relation to the astrology and also to the race and obviously to everything, chakras and so on. So now I will open the floor for those who are still around and survive all this to answer questions or make comments if there are any.
Please raise your hands and then we'll unmute you as we see hands raised. Thank you. Okay, Yogi, go ahead. You are unmuted.
Hello.
Hello there.
If we survived, that was good. But it's such a depth and such a journey we're on. These imaginations come, you might say, intuition. I don't know. It's out there somewhere. But the ideal analysis of a soul's progress, I wonder about the spousal arrangement, the synestratic energies going on, the soul group that this disciple of between first and second initiations, what the siblings were like. You know what I mean. A three-level approach to looking at it all. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Well, you see, this is just the first instruction we are looking at, and I am touching only those energies which are present in that instruction. And actually, I'm going, you know, to the areas which are not usually looked at, but I am following all the links from the lowest, you know, to the highest levels and aligning the energies to this particular disciple. Obviously, the instructions were read by, or DK recommended that all the disciples should read each other's instructions because they are relevant to all of them. Okay? And each disciple was contributing to the group process, to the group energy. And many of them were holding the whole group process with their own issues, and mainly glamours. You see? So, because we are part of the whole, and our own process is linked to the group process. I don't know if I'm exactly answering what you are mentioning, but I'm sure, you know, as we go through the instructions, it will come more obvious. And there would be some instructions where he is talking about the group process as such, because that is a main issue. It's the group process.
Yes, yes.
Is that all? Did she answer your question before I move on to another one? The echo is really bad.
Yes, yes. Very, very good. Thank you.
Okay, Malia, you had a question?
Yes, I'm curious to know, Elena, where you got how you got the connection between Taurus and Sagittarius in terms of vision.
Because these are the two signs of vision, which is clearly said in esoteric astrology.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Both of the esoteric mottos start out, I see.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised, Elena.
Well,
I have a comment.
you know.
I have a comment. Elena, yeah,
Yes.
wonderful job. Thank you so much. This is Michael. You probably have done this already, but I found a picture of Alice Ortiz,
Yes.
Alice DuPont Ortiz, and it rather confirms your theory of the Cancer rising.
Really?
I
I'm
sent it
glad.
to you, so you can
Okay.
use it later. I sent it to you. The high forehead shows the Sagittarian influence of Aries, the multiple Sagittarian thing you talked about. The dimple in the chin is there for the Taurus rulers and all that. And the large lips and the wide mouth for Cancer ascendant.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're on. I think the physiognomy confirms the analysis.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'll see. Judge for yourself. You'll have it in the email.
Yeah, I would
Elena,
be. Yeah.
if you hold on just 1 second, Jeremy pointed me to one, and I can put it up on my screen if I figure out how to change it back to me. Hold on just 1 second.
Or it's in your email, Elena, actually right now.
Oh, thank you. That would be interesting for me to.
Really interesting. Really, I was amazed to see it. I had pictured her quite different. And there it is. Yeah, that's it. But it needs to be bigger, of course, to see. But
It's a very small picture, so if I make it bigger, it's going to lose.
yeah, but not
all
not
you're
too
going to
bad.
get
It
is
will work
fuzzy.
actually.
Right. But see?
The sixth ray look is in the eyes. The gentleness of the second ray is there. The dimple in the chin is there for the Mars rulership in Taurus and the Moon in Scorpio. The mouth is wide. The lips are big, and the Cancer nose is there, and the Aries as well. I think you're correct, and the swan neck of a Scorpio is also there. Mm-hmm. I think your rectification. I think the picture at least confirms the rectification with Cancer ascendant, I would say.
Well, as you know, we felt very comfortable with that sign from the very beginning.
Indeed, indeed. And here, seeing this really, it's another nail in the coffin, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good work.
Thank
Yeah.
you. BL, are you trying to put that picture on?
Didn't I put it on? Can't you see it?
No.
Okay. Then you've got something else open, so you can't see it.
Okay, I will. How do I get rid of this chart? I don't know.
You're going to need to make it little.
Make it little.
Do the little minus sign so that it goes down. Or go down and find your GoToWebinar thing and,
Yes, I am.
and select that.
Select what?
Select your GoToWebinars to make it big.
I have it. I have it.
Okay.
Oh, she's so gentle looking.
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I emailed you. I emailed you that profile.
Thank you. Yes.
Jeremy pointed me to it, so thank him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I still don't see any other hands. So I think if you're done, we can wrap up the...
Yes, I am finished, and if everybody, you know, if nobody has any other comments or questions, so we can end. I suppose it's very daunting to follow all this.
Well, your work is very meticulous, but I think everybody appreciates that. And most people don't realize how meticulous it needs to be. But I think you showed us that.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, let me see. Still, oh, I got a couple of more hands. Hold on a minute. Yvonne, go ahead.
I want to thank you for the picture. She is absolutely beautiful. She's a DuPont. That's where all the money comes from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll put myself on mute again.
And Yogi, you had another?
Yes, I was hoping to get perhaps some insight on where one can research the other bodies. I think in esoteric astrology of 60 or 70 other bodies circulating around the sun. I was wondering what sources of information would assist in insight and study with that respect. And thank you so very much for the thorough.
Well, yes, thank you for asking. Esoteric Astrology is the book to go to, and the Cosmic Fire, which deals with the cosmology and the constellation and the larger picture, that's another book to go to.
I would also say the labors of Hercules, because in each labor he talks about, well, okay, I'm sorry, those are the constellations.
Yes,
where
yes.
he gives, yeah, I'm sorry.
Elena, it's really excellent work, and it needs to be restudied. People will get this video, and
Yes.
You've given so much clear, rational, intuitive information that it needs to be restudied. So, you know.
I can understand that.
Excellent,
yes.
excellent piece of academic work and intuitive work for everybody's restudy, I would recommend. Thank you.
Thank you. So on that note, I want to thank you everybody for participation, and I hope, you know, you will continue with this with these presentations, because they have so much to offer for us personally. We can identify with maybe even with these disciples some of the issues she was going through, like the fear, you know, and the emotional problems. So hope to see you again. Thank you.